G'day, it's Serlo here. Quick message before this episode starts. My comedy festival show, Punk Music, is starting at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival on April 8th. It goes through till the 20th. Super excited to get this show on the road. It's a fun look at punk music, how that's affected me positively, plus some of the rough stuff that comes with touring. The show is just a bit of fun, just some of my best stand-up bits from the last while. Really looking forward to doing the show for people, but if you're listening to the pod, you can get slightly cheaper tickets by using the code OMPOD at my Try Booking link. You can search for the show on the Comedy Festival website by just typing in punk music. Yeah, see you there. Enjoy this episode with Josh and Jem from Speed. We had a sick chat. Thanks for supporting the pod. See you soon.
Welcome back to Oblivious Maximus for another episode. I'm one of two hosts, Aaron.
I'm the other host, Ben. How you going today, Aaron?
I'm fucking great. How are you?
Man, I'm sick as.
Yeah.
It's the morning. We're recording.
Yeah.
And we got Jem and Josh from Speed. How you going today, fellas?
Welcome.
Perfect, man. We're chilling.
This has been many moons in the making. You did actually do the old version of the podcast.
We did.
On Zoom.
Talked about Parkway Drive.
Yeah.
That was mad.
But yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while. So thanks for carving out time in the morning.
Thanks for being patient.
Us. Yeah.
Sorry it took so long.
That's fine. You've been doing stuff.
Yeah, we've been having to go to Clifton Macca's every time instead.
That is true. I have been to Clifton Hill McDonald's with you multiple times.
Got to get that Art Deco Macca's in.
Dude.
It's kind of your guys' holy grail in Melbourne at this point.
It's just beautiful architecture.
Wait, you only go there? We go there?
Architecture.
No, I've been there. It's close to my old house, so I used to go there all the time. I think the last time I went with you guys, it was because I was like, well, I'll go there and then I'll just get an Uber home.
Dude, the amount of times like it pops up on your explore page on the page called like retro spaces or something.
Yeah.
Well, my thing for ages was whenever American bands would come here, I'd be like, oh, that was the first one in Australia.
Yeah.
That was the
Which
gag.
is bullshit, right? Yeah.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it was just a building that was up
It
for
used to
sale.
be like
and
a
McDonald's
hotel or
bought it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a pub at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It honestly though, like all this aside, I do think that the food is held to a higher standard there. Like
It's because of the
it's
building.
never been bad.
They got to match the surroundings.
Exactly, yeah.
There's like, I think the Ballarat one is like kind of the similar
That's
kind
what
of
we've
vibe.
been told, and
Yeah.
we're going there tonight.
Yeah.
I'll text you guys
pilgrimage.
after.
Literally, Sam Octagon last night was like, the Ballarat Macca's is this really special one. You got to hit it. We're like, all right, I'll get some meeting Macca's tomorrow. And then we got in the van. We're like, all right, we're going to Clifton Hill right now.
The other one was the North Hobart one people used to say was awesome. But I think
Yeah.
that the people that used to say that had like just started smoking weed.
Got to tell you about this Macca's. That's
Dude, I had
fucking
the best
awesome.
Maccas of my life in Hobart.
How was playing in Hobart recently? First time for Speed in Tassie?
Yep. Yeah,
Sick
yeah.
as?
It was fucking awesome. It
Yeah.
was fucking sick.
It was really good.
Had you guys been there? Did Endless Heights go there?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Because I mean, I remember I only went there once, but it was like 2 of the most psycho shows like we've ever played.
It was dope. It was good.
Yeah, it was incredible. And it was like obviously well before the current like, resurgence wave.
Yeah.
And obviously we knew Luca Brasi down there. So like they came and brought all their mates and just made it psycho, but it was very fun. But then, in the last 2 years, I've been there twice with Extortion and both those shows were incredible. And like, I think, obviously Severed and their crew are kind of like pushing this forward down there.
For sure.
They've been holding it down for the whole time.
Yeah.
Literally the first time we went there, we were hanging out with those guys.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Did you play the altar
Yeah.
both times?
Yeah, both times.
Yeah, that's the main venue. Yeah, we went a few times before in the years prior before Speed, and Josh even came the first time unless I ever went.
Yeah.
And it was always sick. It was
Yeah.
always such a great time to go. It's so beautiful, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But and so different. Like it almost feels like the closest thing to going overseas while still staying in Australia.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Well, there's
But-
parts of Tassie that just feel like so remote as well.
But
It's just unreal.
but the shows were never like massive.
Yeah.
We were so happy to go, but it was like, You played at 40.
It was an
40 people,
experience.
it'd be
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
You go and just like tick it off. And
Man, that was the same thing with I Exist. It was just like, this is just fun. Like, it's just a holiday.
Well, my old band had someone from Tassie in it, and the
Yeah.
shows were always sick. And then I went back with my other band that didn't have someone from Tassie, and they were fucking dog shit. I was like, really learn a lesson here.
It's a bit like playing Canberra back in the day if I Exist weren't on the bill.
We did.
the range of Canberra shows could be anywhere from 25 people to about 2,500 people, depending on if I Exist were on it or not.
We had a pretty hot run of between Slogan and I Exist. We're like, we just played every show for 4 years. I think. I went to the Hartley's book launch the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And there's about maybe 10 or more photos in there from Tuggeranong Youth Centre.
Sick.
So epic.
I was like, this is crazy that you've created this like document of an era in Australian music, and so much of it is in Tuggeranong Youth Centre.
Yeah.
It's tiny little space.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very like, it's very sick that we've come from that to now what is like far more, I mean, one being well attended is a lot more fun, I suppose, but also is making doing this like a lot more viable than I suppose it was at one point. But the shows on this run like have all been, I suppose, regional in a sense, in that like you're not just playing the cities.
Yep.
But how's that been versus the last tour was, the album tour that was fucking enormous venues. How's it been swapping it back to kind of like the smaller ones again?
It's been refreshing, I think. I mean, not that we have any preference either way, but I think like as amazing as it is to do something like the album tour and play like big venues and kind of see like what the potential is. It's nice to kind of just go back to what feels like real, authentic hardcore shows, you know what I mean? Like, no barrier, people actually moshing, like a more of kind of a like dyed-in-the-wool hardcore crowd. And then, a lot of all ages stuff as well. Like, we played Phoenix Youth Centre the other night, which I don't think many of us have been there since like 2017, 18 or something.
We got to see something. I saw a video of something from that show I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind, which was the on-stage circle pit stage dive.
It was half.
I've never seen that ever before either.
Like, you think these young kids, are they coming up with anything new? And they absolutely have.
That is the Gen Z's innovation in hardcore is the stage dive circle pit.
That was brand new that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were at the start of something.
I couldn't even sing the whole song because I was just pissing myself laughing the whole time. It was so fucking funny.
Like the invention of fire or something.
It was so funny.
Witnessing history.
I was like, those are definitely young kids doing that.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that's happening at the over 18 show.
No, that wasn't. Well, that's not happening at the Northcote Theatre or whatever.
The theatre, yeah.
It looks like
Just
something out
back
of
to your
F45. Like,
I think it was because at the 18 plus show, when there's no one there to dive on, you just stop diving.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kept going.
That was awesome.
It's playing those theaters though were crazy. Like, I mean,
For sure.
I was at the Northcote Theatre one, and I really like that venue because it's got the mezzanine and it's real old man eras being just up on the mezz.
Man, how beautiful is it? It's such
amazing.
such a spectacle being in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was so sick. It's so sick watching bands there because it's like, well, it's just, you can see everything. It's fucking awesome. But like, I mean, that show was crazy. I mean, obviously the Enmore show was like insane comparatively. I mean, it's even bigger than that joint and even more like regal looking, I suppose. I mean, I get the videos from that though looked wild. Like, I mean, like, was it a nightmare putting it together there, or?
It was honestly pretty easy. I think like all things, we planned it because, we were just like, wouldn't it be funny to do a hardcore show here? Like,
Yeah.
And then obviously knowing that place, so having grown up going to like big concerts there and stuff. We kind of knew what it was going to be like. And we were like, okay, well, we want to try and replicate the feeling of a hardcore show in this place that really it doesn't belong in. But then, maybe like a month, 2 months out, we were like, fuck, there's probably a few things that we need to do to kind of like dress the place up a little bit. Like, we've never ever had lighting before,
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
Like, we always just turn the house lights on because that's what a show at Tuggeranong Youth Centre with them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or Phoenix Youth Centre. And we were like, well, we're playing in a theatre. It would probably look cool if we had like proper lighting. And my brother-in-law does that for a job. So we just called him up and got him to like
Sick.
do a whole kind of show for us, which was cool. But yeah, I mean, it was sick. It was,
We knew that
it didn't feel hard. You know what I mean? It felt like a regular show, but it was also at the same time a very special day.
It was also because Candace from Beast Mode put in so much effort to going to all the venues and having the conversation with them, knowing what to expect and blah 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 blah. Just kind of like laying the ground before we even walked in.
Yeah.
And they were so accommodating with just like everything other than the barrier, obviously. But we knew that like going into that tour,
At a point, you have to just accept it.
there was just no. We had exhausted all the venues that the maximum limit. And like we were actually told early on that there was a potential we might be able to get the barrier away from Enmore, which is why I expect it looked so sexy to us. We're like, oh, let's
get
do that. And it changed, but anyways, we stuck to it. But we knew that we were going to do these shows that were going to be slightly different vibe, taking the piss, just putting in these like places where hardcore shouldn't really exist. And then we knew back then that we were like, all right, and then the next tour in the following year, we'll do a full Australia tour, but we'll do Australia only because the album tour had like 3 internationals on it.
Yeah.
We kind of just make it larger than life. But then we're like, we'll follow it up and do Australian only, play with all the sick bands that are all over the place, put them in proper shows that are like floor shows or VFW hall type shit, you know what I mean? And also just play all the outer cities, all the outer towns and regions. Just to do the thing how we saw it when we were kids, you know? Like sing a Parkway tour, sing a Carpathian tour, Prom Queen, whatever you name it, having like up to almost 15 to 20 shows on it. 2 to 4 shows every city, like 18 plus. We just wanted to do that again, you know?
Yeah, because I guess that stuff sort of went away, like those like we were talking to our friend Luca, who was like, you know, there was a bit of a scene in Echuca when he was growing up, and it was like that doesn't quite exist. And it's like you guys are almost bringing that back in a way because like someone's got to go there and do it first,
right?
And it seems like you guys are really spreading that, like making sure that those shows can happen.
Well, those shows are happening because of the scene that already existed. There's people that key players in each of these scenes. Like for example, going to Sunshine Coast or playing Mambo, and there's these band called like 270, for example, who's like running heaps of the stuff up there. Or you go to Gold Coast and there's people running the shows at Vinnie's for a long time. In Canberra, you go down, there's like Tantu Tika, Uzi Akimbo, you know, running shows for ages, just full grassroots shit, you know, booking everything from just low level house shows to just like smaller pub shows, you know, just for us, by us type shit. And creating that platform, and if that wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to go. But it was also such a dream. Like when we started the band, I've been saying this like last couple of nights, like going to Brisbane wasn't even on the cards for us because you couldn't barely play a show in like Sydney that would be like fully viable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's like 17 shows across Australia, like fully sold out. Like Tasmania, Hobart had like over 400 people. And that's a speed thing. That's just an Australia hardcore thing.
Yeah,
it's like you know, people are feeling it in their own places. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think like again, same thing. Like you know, it's different. They've been here quite a few times, but that Harm's Way tour was like every show was the biggest one they've done here.
That's awesome.
In that city, and like I think that's partly because they're a great band and they've been doing it for a long time, but also every show had local hardcore bands on it, and all of their friends were there, and like the Brisbane show was probably one of the biggest shows on the tour because of, all of our friends that play in bands and do that. And like all of their stuff.
It seems like there's been a bit of a culture shift or something. Like people are more willing to like come out and support. Like I think definitely after maybe COVID, it being taken away, people are like, fuck, we really did have something. We really did have something a few years ago. And like, you guys kind of, it feels like you've almost like manifested it in a way. Like I remember you guys starting the pod, talking about shows, and that kind of vibe has sort of permeated throughout the scene. It feels like.
Well, the other thing, bro, is, and I think one of the things that's really become apparent to us doing this run of shows is there is just also a new generation.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about it the other day. We say all the time, like, for years we were the young people in hardcore, and then we were like knocking on 30, and we were like, how are we still like kind of the young generation?
The last line.
I mean?
Yeah.
We were old heads to like when we were getting into hardcore, 30-year-olds were old to us. And now doing this show, we did like the New South Wales shows we did with Scorn, and like some of those guys are like 20. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
He's
Like
just turned
people
21.
born after
Yeah.
9/11 and shit. You know what I mean? Like that's my new barometer for like a young person. Oh, you weren't alive for that. But like, it's crazy. Like actually feeling like overnight, all of a sudden, I feel the generation gap. You know what I mean? Like I finally feel old, which is scary, but also cool.
Well,
You should. Like, it should be. Like,
Yeah,
I-
totally.
I met those guys at the Sydney show that Extortion played, and I met the homie. I don't know his name. Sorry, the guitar player from school, and who has the bright green guitar.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just went up to him and was like, because one, he had a bright green guitar, so I was like, gotta talk to you about this.
He
Like,
swagged out.
Yeah.
and
name's Leo.
then he did maybe the best stage I've ever seen a human do whilst being played.
Yep.
And then I found out that's apparently like his thing.
It is,
that he does psycho stage jumps.
We didn't. We knew his style for a bit before we knew the person because he just went to the first back on the map. This is after being locked up in COVID for however many years and coming out to this 700 cap festival, whatever. And there was just this bloke in a full Spider-Man costume just doing that the whole fest. That was Leo.
Oh my
Really?
goodness.
Like, the Spider-Man was going psycho the whole show, just doing like triple backflips and whatever. And it wasn't until like a year later when he took the mask off and it was Leo this whole time.
He
Face reveal. That's crazy.
when I just remember I was standing at the back of Manning Bar and I was with Lee and Stella, and he was like, truly, I felt like from where I was standing, I was like, this man's going to touch the roof. Like he
gets
has jumped so high, and I think all of us were just like, whoa!
Well, and I think that is also seems like like not the difference, but like one of the cool things about the younger generations. They're moshing for all the other bands.
Yeah.
They're getting into it.
Yeah.
And there seems to be sort of less of that tall poppy syndrome thing. Like I think that's kind of going away a bit. At least it feels like it. People are just like, we're all in this together. This doesn't work unless we like support each other. That kind of thing.
I think it's also not a coincidence that a lot of the coolest young, like upcoming scenes are in places where, like Canberra, Newcastle, Adelaide, like places that don't have like huge populations as it is. And so like bro, the Canberra show that we played, like it's a bunch of like teenage misfits who have like totally different styles.
Canberra looked like
playing in a
town
band
hall
together.
steps.
Right.
Literally,
Yeah.
the crowd just was town hall steps.
Yeah.
50% of them were under the age of 18.
Yeah. It was like I was in Canberra 2 weeks ago, I guess, and going there, and so that venue as well has like not really been putting on shows.
UC Hub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's only, I mean, every now and then, but it was back in the day, it was like that's where Metal for the Brain was, and that's where
Oh, true. Okay.
Soundfest, the much maligned Soundfest was there, and that's where like when Patty and I booked those like the Prom Queen Bring Me the Horizon tour, that was there.
Yeah,
but
okay.
like I hadn't been to something there in a really long time, and then Sam from I Exist and Bloodmouth and stuff was at the speed show, and I was like, how is the show? And he was like, oh, I was fucking mad. I'm way too short for this. He's like, I couldn't see anything.
That's awesome.
But he was like, it's sick that it's happening here.
Not even a tall venue. That makes it sound like a really massive stage.
It is not. And that's just how little he is. But, I mean, I think like we've been talking about it on this a lot, that like and I mean, particularly even like it's very exciting for me that like that Canberra is doing well, and like that the guys from there are doing something that we used to do too. Like, I mean, really the thing for us was like when we first started playing shows, like when I was a kid, like it was house shows.
Yeah.
So it's so sick that they're doing them again. And it's so sick that like No Apologies went and played in a kid's backyard.
Yeah.
Like that's the coolest thing in the world to me. Like
For sure,
And
yeah.
the fact that like Pete and the old people are like, yeah, we'll go play backyard.
Yep.
Like,
And also
Yeah,
the fact
respect
that
to them.
torch has been passed and the culture of car shows in Canberra is continuing into 2025, going to 2030. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
because it was I mean, when you were off air before, you were talking about bongs. And when you say the word bongs, I almost just think of house show.
Yeah.
Whose
Yeah.
kitchen was it that
We
there's
played that
crazy
show.
video?
Yeah. It was our friend Amy. It was her house. It was like I Exist, Earthlings.
Thanks.
That's Drew.
Yeah.
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 And can't remember. Someone else. But yeah, that song Bongs, that was like a South Coast / Canberra classic.
It kind of got adopted by Canberra more than South Coast.
Well, Sam's little brother wrote the song.
Right, yep.
So, but that's why we used to play it a lot. And then, but like Hard Luck covered it.
Yep.
It got to a point where it was like, and then apparently bands are still doing it. Like,
Really?
Yeah. And like
cool.
Marcus and all the amends guys have told me, they're like, yeah, it's like a thing in Wollongong now.
Sick. That's really
Like
cool.
this stupid song from 2006 or whatever is still being covered by bands.
Amazing.
But yeah, that was at the time that was like I'm fairly certain Basement played a house show in Canberra. There was a period where international bands were playing house shows in Canberra.
Well, there was
did one with
the
Zabalba.
Morgan's
Yeah.
Basement
Yeah.
era, with Zabalba, and then there was Crossroads,
Yeah.
Owen, like Urge to Kill, and a lot of like punk and like indie bands and stuff.
Yeah.
There, or they'd have like raves and shit there.
Basement played in the small room of the basement, which feels like a house show.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels kind of like an
tiny.
old like lounge. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's it was the green room.
yeah.
And then I can't remember who it was. Some band was there, and the venue itself is quite big because they can keep moving walls away, so it can end up being like 600 cap.
Yeah.
And someone was playing a show in the big room that wasn't going well. And as my understanding goes, as the law is, they were in the green room and they're like, the show should be in here. Like if this show was in here, the room would be full. And I'm pretty sure one of the guys who works there was like, we can build a stage in here.
That's
like,
Yeah.
we played a show there once.
It worked.
We played a show there once when there was an In Excess cover band in the main room, and Mental Cavity were playing in the little room. And we were sound checking, and the guys from the In Excess cover band came in and were like, we're going to have to figure out like the set times because you guys are way louder than us. And like I think there was like 500 people at this In Excess cover band show. They're like, it's going to like ruin the night for all these like mums who've come out to see In Excess.
Can't hear
cover.
bongs during Never Terrace.
Covered by mental cavity. So abrasive, it's like so heavy.
He then came in and he brought out their set times, and it was just them for like 3 hours just playing like so. And then we were like, yeah, we'll just play in the 30-minute gaps. That's when we'll play, and it worked fine. But,
Did you get to watch the band?
oh yeah,
That's very
that
respectful
was
of you
sick. Well,
to concede.
I'm a Canberra person.
Yeah.
I can't make Canberra In Excess musicians mad at me.
Yeah.
Last night, I guess the last time I saw you was the Bunt Jam. And it
Yeah.
seems like then you were cooking. You were just off the Knock Loose tour. Is that right?
We just come back from Europe tour with a bunch of bands on Flat Spot.
Yeah, that's right. But it seems like last night the production or the show has gone up again. And maybe
really?
production is not the right word, but like it just all worked so seamlessly. Is that
Really? Thank you.
is that something that like you're thinking about, or you think it was just obviously tour tight, but it just seemed to be just working the whole
I think
time.
we're constantly tweaking little things.
Yes,
they'll-
yeah.
Like last night, for example, we've been playing the same set for most of the year. Like we played quite a few shows this year already. And last night we were just like, fuck it, we're subbing one song out for another because we know that it'll work better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like little things like that. But I think most of it kind of just accumulates over time, right? Like we figure out how to do little transitions between songs better, or like Jem will kind of like stop the set in certain parts and like
Otis was saying the same thing last night. He was
was,
like,
yeah.
something like you guys did something different last night, and blah blah blah. And, like something felt really good. And blah. I was like, it's pretty much the same set. So I feel like maybe it's to do with just the synergy, like because we were
Yeah.
discussing it. Like,
Yeah.
probably the synergy on stage was just like
because the songs don't change and the
We were talking. Otis and I were talking about it while you guys were playing, and I was like, I think whatever changes you've made just to like the running order of the set made it just like flow way better.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
I think is like that is obviously a thing of playing a lot of shows.
yeah.
And I think like when I saw you at the theater, like it was the record tour, so you were basically playing the record,
Right.
whereas then you know obviously you do some more shows and you start subbing old songs in and out or whatever.
Yep.
But last night the flow of it just felt like unreal.
that's awesome.
that's
That's
sick.
so good to hear.
Glad.
I also like it's probably because it probably has to do with Elliot just killing the sound,
Yes.
making it sound like so fucking
Man, that
polished or
little
whatever.
rig that he has, because I was like standing behind him while you guys were playing, and it's wild.
He is such an insanely smart like person that I feel so proud about Elliot and his story, because like I've known him since he was like a kid that would just like hump bus poles when we were like 12, and literally seen him grow up his whole life and been on every phase of our lives together. And like I'm seeing this guy who is built his own studios with his own two hands, and I know a lot of people can do that, but like bro, even just like I look at the internet setup in the studio, like you open this door to a wall and you look inside and it's full of cables, and he's just set up like, bro,
Massive server.
I struggle just to plug in the power to the right adapter. You know what I'm saying? He like just his server database, even just that thing alone in this giant studio is so impressive to me.
He's just got that kind of mind where you're like, he cannot let a problem go unsolved, I think. This is
Yeah.
He's like, if something comes up, he's like, well, no, I'm not going to work around that. Like, I'm going to figure it out right now.
Yeah.
You know?
He does it with his own brain, his own two hands, and this rig that you're talking about. I
The
don't know
rig
if
is
there's
crazy.
Any way that you can show it, but like he literally has built his own sound rig, which has a computer and a monitor built into it. It's full colored and everything. It fits perfectly in this like giant pelly. He literally can do everything with his sound and can even play Call of Duty on it, like while he's waiting, like in between. Like it's like insane. It's talk about building like a gaming PC. He's built like a portable gaming PC, but he's built a portable sound rig that does everything he wants. It has like a Wi-Fi thing set up to it. Like
Because he was on the Harm's Way tour and he was using it on that, and I was basically like every night like watching him do it. And one, it sounds incredible. Obviously, he sounds incredible when he's mixing bands, which is well known. But like just watching him like at the show in Adelaide, he was just walking around the venue on his like doing it on his
just
phone.
doing his phone now, yeah.
And he like came upstairs and was just talking to me, doing it on his phone, like
Yeah.
while it was happening.
He's
I love
got us all set
bass
up.
drop button.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Every time his hand went over, I was like, here we go.
he loves it.
Yeah.
He loves
All
it.
sound guys.
He begged us for such a long time to do that. He was like, please, man, can I please do something?
It probably has to do with why the production felt different.
Right,
'Cause
yeah.
Elliot is literally leveling stuff up without us even knowing or even me comprehending. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
So
But it complements each other. Like, I think that's the big thing. It just like seems to just all be in sync. Yeah.
well, he is also like that's also such the beauty of this experience is that like I'm so anal about everything to do with speed. I'm like literally like scouring every detail, thinking about every single thing to do with everything with the band at all times, and it's hard for me sometimes to let let delegate some of these kind of this control, especially creatively. But Elliot is one person who's like, you do whatever you want to do, because we've known each other for so long. Like we've literally like, if there's somebody else that could understand like what's the riff I'm about to play in my head before I even play it, like it'd be him. You know, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He'd be able to finish the tail end of it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he just knows exactly what works for us and everything, and so it's cool to hear you guys say like, oh, the production's leveled up or something feels different when it's just a team effort of us just kind of like leveling up together. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I think the cool thing too is like seeing at a venue like last night, where obviously the last couple times I've seen you guys has been at like way bigger places, and obviously then there's things that have to go into that to make that work. But then when it pulls back to, not that last night's like a small venue, but it's smaller, and seeing it still work. And, to be honest, I like watching the set last night, I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, so seeing it work in all those different spaces is fucking great. Like, so just been to Europe, toured with Madball, got to be one of the most psycho things for speed, particularly for Dennis, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
For all of us, but yeah, for him for sure. It's his favorite band. It's his favorite hardcore band of all time.
Probably like one of our biggest influences collectively. Like you literally look at the demo, you look at the logo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, literally look at the art, just listen to music. Like, these are not that nice. Like it's just
Yeah.
It's there. But the way I put it into perspective is that like growing up playing classical music, you are literally paying homage and honoring these forefathers of a genre that lived 400 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And we're always studying their movements and trying to perceive like how did they come to this idea or how do they land on this, and it's still being reinvented today or being analyzed today. We literally live in the same era of the people who invented the style that we play. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine if you were even in a grunge band and you got to say you're touring with Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you freak out, or if you play like psych rock and you'd be like, I'm touring with Jimi Hendrix. And I can talk to Jimi Hendrix and like be around him. We literally are a hardcore band from Sydney that toured with Freddie Madball. You know what I'm saying? Like insane. This is that is in 40 years time you might not be able to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like 50 years time there'll be people that will always look back on this and be like, that was the era where Madball was still kicking, AF was still kicking, Crown of Thorns, blah blah blah. Like it's a crazy thing for me to like an honor to be part of this kind of timeline still.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the other thing too is it's just like, particularly again from being from somewhere that's so far from it, that's always been the thing for me with that stuff is like, like the fact that I Exist played with I Hate God in Europe to me still is like, that's like I could never beat that.
Yep.
Like I can never beat the fact
You toured with them.
Yeah. Like, and same thing, like how in the world, like 14-year-old me that had like truly little shrine set up in my bedroom to this band, and then like I got their phone numbers now. Like,
Well,
And still have that shrine set up in your bedroom.
I mean, that's not a lie.
Well, it feels, I don't know if it's unique to punk music and adjacent genres that you are so close to it. I don't know. It feels unique to hardcore and punk like that. You can go anywhere in the world and still feel pretty connected. It's like,
For sure.
going to a random show in Paris by myself, didn't know anyone, within like half an hour, talking to people, chatting to the bands. It's like, it's just not, there's something unique about this music.
100%.
I think in that sense that there is this other side of it, which is community and doing it yourself, and most of all people, that kind of bridges that gap a bit more. Yeah.
100%.
We were laughing like a while ago. This sticks out to me. Like when we went to Bangkok 2 years ago, and it was just the most insanely violent, crazy show. Like one of those ones where it's just like you don't necessarily know what to expect. Or we didn't know what to expect. But you walk into the show and then you're like, the riff hits and you're just like, it's mosh to kill. I can't, like I'm compelled. It's like that from literally the minute doors open to the end on the show, this show. And there's this video of me just wailing on this Thai person, this Thai kid in the front during this band Depressed. And with me and B-Chan just laughing at it because we're all of us in Speed, everyone was just pitching so hard, and B-Chan was just like, hardcore, the only genre where you can rock up to see like your favorite band and the singer of the headlining band is there beating the shit out of you during the opening band. You know what I mean? Like imagine going to any other concert, like Sabrina Carpenter's not going to go on stage and be pogoing with you. It's a
Yeah. I mean, I think
beautiful thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think like the thing now too that's really sick is like it's really become a thing where older bands too are really getting like rejuvenated by younger bands as well. So I mean, not only is it like awesome for you guys to play with Madball, but I'm sure for them too, it's like exciting for them to have a band that is modern and new, that sounds the way they sound and do the things like them, to have a part of a tour, like, because it's, I think that's sort of the feedback that I've got from older guys that I've been playing with is that like, yeah, it's fucking awesome that people still like this shit that like
For sure.
came up in my bedroom, 30, 40 years ago or whatever,
Yeah. Well, can you imagine how crazy it is for someone like Freddie Madball, who literally was like born into hardcore.
He was like a child.
Right. And then carried the torch himself and like totally changed the sound of modern hardcore. Like I don't think hardcore sounds the way that it does now without Madball.
Yeah.
To then, 40 years later, see bands from like all over the world still kind of emulating that sound and putting it together. He probably would have seen Speed and looked at the logo and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see the effect that you're having, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, they're living that every single day. They're going to South America or they're going to like Eastern Europe and like still seeing the ripples of things that they did when they were not even 20 years old yet. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be such a surreal feeling for them. Like, how could you not find that rewarding? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing too is like, not that it's not been spoken about, but I guess like you guys have been doing this for fucking ages now too. Like, I mean, I'm certain I met you before you were 18. Like,
For sure,
Definitely.
absolutely.
like, and we met because of playing in bands.
Yeah.
Like, so the reality is like, I mean, again, I've mentioned it on here before, but like, if I was going to get over this, I would be completely over it by now. I still would not be setting up my I Hate God shrine at my new house. Like, I'm stuck with this shit forever now, basically. Like,
That is the thing that I always reflect on, is that you would think that it was going to be a phase a while ago, but you just love it more and more and more and more. And I think it's like this cyclical G-up effect. It's like every time we see each other, we're like, we're all getting older, but we're still fucking around, and it's so dope, and it's getting better, and it's only getting better. And I think as we get older and we keep loving it more, and we keep having mad experiences and starting new bands and just like XYZ, whatever comes with the experience, it's just like, it just gets better. I don't know. Like, just sitting here right now, talking with the homies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being able to, who fuck knows how many people are going to even listen to this, but like the fact that there is the potential that people might be interested to what we're even talking about, sitting here just as homies, and we get to a platform to do this, it's with our lives, it's fucking cool. Like, people our age who aren't into hardcore doing other things by themselves. I don't know. It's a,
well, I mean, I think the other thing, the big thing for me too is like the defining characteristic, I think, of it that is so different from anything else that I've experienced, you know, and I think I get this experience from just like having a normal job or whatever, is that like normal people, for lack of a better word, like do not have as many friends as I have, and do not know people in as many places I know people, and like, you know, the thing that I feel bad for people like that is like, man, all you had to do was be a fucking weird cunt in year 7, and then you would know someone in every corner of the world.
Exactly.
Like,
that is not even to get deep about it, but that is such a profound point.
Yeah.
Loneliness is such a real thing, and you don't realize it when we're in this circle. You know what I'm saying? When we're just used to, XYZ homie from anywhere in the world is just texting me about something that we laughed about 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, But then I get a reality check on it when Jem, my partner, is like telling me about like maybe her colleagues and stuff, and they're just, for example, like we just having a friend from LA who, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't even know their full name, and then they're just staying with us. I mean, that's totally fine. But then her workmates are like, "Are you sure this person's your friend? Like, who is this? But how do you know? Wait, how do you know this person?" She's like, "Well, it's Jem's friend who messaged me, who like I saw at a show once, and they're going to stay with us for a couple of days." And they're like, "You're going to let this person into your house? Like, what? who are they? Like, wait, are you sure you're friends?" You know what I'm saying? And it's always hard to explain in these situations.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I mean, I think even like when Duck and I first started dating, it was like, I think she found it when she was like, "Wait, so how many people are staying at your house tonight?" I was like, 6 people. And she was like, "Where are they from?" Like, "They're from Brisbane." "Why are they here?" "They're playing at a bar." "Where are they sleeping in your house?" "Wherever they will physically fit." Like, that's, now we've been together for many years, and we've, you know, recently bought a house with the intention of like, we got to have another room. Can't have Bloodmouth sleeping in our bed with us. Like, we need space for these people.
literally.
Well, I think at a basic level, it's like a lot of people are so disconnected from our community at all.
For sure.
Yeah.
And going to shows and being around people gives you that. Like, at a very simple level. Like, not a lot of other music genres have that, I don't think. They have it in a way, but maybe not in the same way. So it's like, you know, not to get too deep with it, but it's like in an age where people are so disconnected, social media, etc., this is a way to actually physically be with people.
People always ask or try come up with different theories of why hardcore is getting so big now, and I always just believe that the biggest factor is literally the essence of the culture. And the fact that it's getting so big now post COVID is a testament to the essence of what it is, because as you're saying, people were so disconnected, and then they're falling into something like this. And it's also weird for us. It's not weird anymore because we fucking talk about this like every day. But it was weird at the beginning in 2020 for us to actually label it and be like community and like belonging and like identity, like just fucking saying words like that. Because it's something that you never talked about. You just did it.
Part of it. Yeah,
we didn't go to a show and be like, I got a community around me. You know? Like going with my fucking homies and just like hanging out. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it is a thing. It's real.
Yeah.
Well, I think like you mentioned it last night, like sitting at home watching the Hate 5-6 videos, and I think like I would say even myself, like I'd admit it was maybe a bit slack with going to shows a bit before COVID, and then it was like during COVID, watched all those videos and was like, fuck, I love this shit so much, I gotta make the effort. And it's like I think that, and particularly for young kids, maybe they didn't get to experience that and then saw it and were like, all right, shows are happening now, let's go out. And you can definitely feel it in a very real sense.
Yeah. I think that time obviously revealed to us that like being into this kind of music, you have to show up. You know what I mean? Like it's not the type of music that you'd listen to by yourself and enjoy by yourself, and you don't like communicate with other people about it. You know what I mean? The whole thing is like going to the show and experiencing it with other people. You know what I mean? I think like the last couple of years of everything that we've kind of experienced playing in the band is like really revealed to us that the point of being involved in this is just connecting with people, you know what I mean? Like making new friends and like going to the other side of the world, meeting somebody and like instantly having a connection with them and being able to like bond over things, even though your experience is totally different. Like the amount of friends that we have that we like can't even really communicate with like verbally because we don't speak the same language, but that feel like proper like lifelong friends because we have like a shared common bond. Like it's a very profound thing, you know what I mean? I think I don't think it's unique to hardcore, but it is definitely one of the most important aspects of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very, very, very powerful aspect of it. And also as getting older, like you realize that a lot of the virtues that were preached to you, even though they sound catchy in a song and they look sick on the back of a t-shirt in college font, like is actually fucking real. You know what I'm saying? And like, I think sometimes as well when you're a kid, like you talk about these things and maybe you're immature or you're just naive and getting older and you're like, yeah, they're real. Like, yeah, my friends are my family, you know, blah, blah, blah. But as you get older and then you go through these like crazy experiences and like Ajay, like we're here today in doing this chat right now at end of March because we had to reschedule the shows because our friend passed away. And this is a friend that like we met 2.5 years ago because from Korea, he messaged me the day before he moved here on Instagram and was like, I'm moving to, I book events in Korea and I'm moving here and I would love to hang out. And I was like, fucking earth. So we met up at a Primitive Bar show the next week and just became like literally such a crucial part of like our friendship group and our family. Like he stayed at our house with me and Gemma and celebrate Christmas together for the last 2 Christmases. Like he had his first ever Christmas, like opening presents with people and had that experience. Like came to our house parties. He would bring his Korean tourist friends that he would meet through like Korean tourist channels, I guess in Australia. He would bring them to Aaron's house and Joel's house parties to be like, look at this, look at what Australian house parties are like. You don't have that in Australia. And I mean, it was, all of these things were so fascinating to him and literally became our little brother. I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but like he literally would call Gemma big sister in Korean, which is a very respectful thing, and she would call him little brother, and it was like this such an incredible relationship. And as tragic as it was to lose someone like that, it put in perspective just all these things that we talked about, how real it is. It's like we could barely even communicate the same language. Like I remember calling the police and being like, I need to file a missing persons report. They're like, what's his name? And I was like, Ajay. And I was like, wait a second, that's not his name. He has a real name. Ajay is I know actually Ajay. In that moment I realized this is the nickname, but I've literally been left all his affairs. He personally gave me all his affairs to take after it. And I don't even know this guy's real name, full name, you know? And then like, we didn't even know his family. We didn't know anybody. We were trying to communicate, we had to go through the Korean consulate to find his family and go through all these hoops and realizing how little you know somebody when you feel like you know them so closely. Like I literally spent the highest, he came with us to the Have Heart reunion shows in Boston. We sang together on stage at our album release show in LA, literally living like craziest, most incredible moments of your life with someone that you've only known for like a matter of months at this point. And, you know, like it's a devastating moment, and I didn't mean to get heavy about this or talk about it, but it's just so relevant to what we're discussing, because as sad and tragic as it all was, like I literally felt so much like more alive in this moment, because all the things messages he left us and what he said about how it was just the happiest time that he ever had in his life, being in Australia and meeting, like he wasn't even meant to move here. He was like, I was coming to Australia. I thought I was coming to Australia to save money to go to film school in Germany. But I just fell in love with it so much, and I realized that like there's a home for me here. And this is someone that you could barely even speak the same language with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I think that's when the stuff that like you said, the stuff we're talking about actually becomes reality. And
Exactly.
it's like you don't, you know, you take someone for who they are in that moment, and it's like, you know, because of our community, you're in. Like, if you're a part of it, you know, you're accepted. Like,
100%.
And that's where all those little, like what Jem was saying, those little catchphrases like loyalty and brotherhood and all that sort of stuff. Like it sounds gimmicky, but like in those moments, like you feel that, you know what I mean? Like when we know that something's wrong, like that's when all of those things shine through, you know what I mean? And
and I think, I mean, I think the other thing too is like the way it wraps around you then in face of tragedy or in face of like hard times too. I mean, I think like, you know, we've similarly gone through things that were very challenging for our like close friendship group. And I would say like as a result of that, our close friendship group is now
way closer
because of it. And like, you know, it galvanizes you and you build your armor around all the stuff that happens to you. But like, again, I would not know any of this stuff. I wouldn't know any of these people, and I wouldn't have these positive things in my life if it wasn't for like, you know, the stupid fucking house shows. Right. And like all this stuff that to other people does look insane and looks like, why the fuck are you still doing this? Why are you using your annual leave to like muck around with your friends? Like, because it's the thing that I want to do, and I will keep doing it until I can't do it anymore, basically.
And I think that's the side of it that's hard to explain. Like bringing someone into a hardcore show cold, they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
This music is so simple. What's going on?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's not just that.
Yeah,
It is all this other stuff to do with it. And that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can never understand it until you've realize it in the physical setting. Like it can only be experienced when you're in that moment, like sharing the passion, energy, like all that other kind of like whatever bullshit you want to say, like literally in this live setting.
It's like playing someone heavy music and you're like, how do you enjoy this? It's like, well, you had to listen to Blink-182 20 years ago. And just get slightly heavier the whole time.
Someone at work recently was like, you know, so like, how heavy is death metal? And I was like, you don't like.
How heavy is it?
Like the comprehension for you is like, I
think about the word death.
I would have to take you through so many years to get you here. And then, you know, then the barometer conversation that I always have is like, well, the thing that I label it is like, whenever you meet someone and they ask you these things, you just hit them with like, you heard Metallica? It's like that. You'll if you listen to Metallica for 20 years, you'd end up here somehow. Like
that. I mean, that's been the reliable comparison for so long, right? But I feel like that's kind of losing its.
It is losing its weight a little bit now.
I mean? Like it's hard to say that to a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I think the thing for me too is just like, I mean, at this point now, I remember for many years I would try and like keep it to myself or not.
For sure.
Have it be part of who I was when but now I'm just like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like, this is the thing I care about. The real job thing is like, that pays for this thing. Like,
you get your hustle and then you get your passion, you know what I mean? But yeah, I fully feel that. I'm proud of it. I'm so proud of it. Like,
me too. Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, I was having a conversation with someone recently and they were like, they did say like, why would you hide it? And I was like, well, no, I was never hiding it. I think just for years I wouldn't really talk about it in those settings because one, people don't understand it, and then two, it's like they will just come and be like, wait, so you went to Brisbane yesterday and now you're back at work today? You don't need 2 days off? I'm like, well, I feel like shit, but like I felt great yesterday when I was in Brisbane. Like,
Totally. I think like I always just never wanted people to make like an assessment of who I am based on like what they think I'm into. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I know what this brings to my life. I know how important it is to me, but you won't understand it because you haven't seen all the things that I've seen. You know? Like you were saying, you didn't listen to Blink-182 when you were 12. And
you don't have the context.
But now that I'm older, I'm kind of like, no, I think from the outside, you can look at like the world that we're in and admire it and understand what it is. You know what I mean? Like you can look at it and say, well, clearly these people care about each other. And like, clearly it's deeper than just listening to a type of music. And
I mean, the funny one for me that's still always in my head is lying in bed when you guys put up like the first video that you did. And I was like, just like lying there watching the video, like just smiling or something. And Duck was like, what are you watching? And I was like, oh, it's Jem's new band. And I turned the phone around and showed Duck. And Duck like leaned over and she was like, that guy from your house. And I was like, Jem, from the band. I was like, yeah. And she was like, that's him. And I was like, yeah. And she was
awesome.
like, he's leaning out the window of a car. And I was like, yeah, this is sick.
Thanks, Doug.
But yeah, I mean, I think like that is where it's at now for me. It's just like, I think things like that help it as well. You know, like, you know, having music videos and shit. And I think, I mean, that's another big thing that you guys have been really good at. Particularly, I guess, having Rudsy is probably like the best thing for it. But like, you know, much like having Elliot with the sound stuff, finding someone who can be a part of it with you that's able to do this other thing for the, you know, the collective that is documenting it in a way that like, even much like Hartley taking photos and going on tours with bands back in the day, like this is the new current version of that sort of idea. And it's been fucking awesome seeing you guys put up like the little doco videos, and like it's been really cool to then highlight, you know, the places that you're going and the things that you're doing and the bands that you're playing with and stuff.
It sometimes feels a bit like self-righteous to keep like doing this, but I mean, whenever you're filming yourself or like making stuff about yourself, but really where we're coming from is just storytelling. Like, like, because I've thought for the longest time in my life, like that I didn't have a unique story. I didn't have like, who gives a shit about what me and my friends do? Like no one cares. Like it's not unique. And I kind of realized through this band of choosing to kind of accept that and talk about that. And I talked about that. We've been talking about each other, like our story as a band and promoting our friendships, because really it's the thing that we feel most passionate about. Yeah. I feel that's, if I'm trying to think about like, what am I going to communicate to the world? Like that comes naturally to me, that I feel strongly that that feels profound to me. Like it is the relationships, like it just really is. And then so telling the stories like this way, by making videos and whatever and putting our faces behind it, I think has been very intentional to like communicate, this is what we sound like, this is what we look like, this is where we're from, this is how we interact with each other, this is what we do. And I don't know, I like even just being here with you guys, like I think it's dope. Like I'd be like, these are our friends in Australia, like this is what we do. They've got a podcast room, like they play in bands, like they live in Melbourne, like they eat good food, they drink good coffees, like, you know, heaps of unique things that exist in our lives which we don't necessarily realize until we leave Australia and think and see how other people live and be like, oh, it's really cool how we do it back home.
Yeah. Well, it's also like I think our world was so small before we started traveling with the band, and then as soon as we started playing overseas, we were like, and there are so many cool stories that people just don't know about because it's not shown to them. So like we were learning so many things every time we got on a plane, you know what I mean? Like meeting all of these people from bands in America that we've listened to for so long, and like playing like fucking historic venues, but then going to like fucking Gothenburg and playing in a room of like 150 teenagers, you know what I mean? It's like, does anybody know that there's like one of the coolest hardcore scenes in the world is a fully all ages scene in Sweden right now? Like, I don't think people realize that. So we have to show that to people, you know what I mean? Like that story needs to be told. And I think that's the reason, well, I think people starting to like show curiosity about that and be interested in things that are outside of their backyard is the reason why like hardcore is such a global thing at the moment, like more than ever. Like you look at all of kind of the big like watershed moments in hardcore every year, like all of the big fests in the US and the UK and whatever, and there's so many international bands on them now.
Yeah.
Because for the first time people have been like, you know what, I think that fucking French hardcore is cool.
Yeah.
Like I like it's the scope is so much wider now, and so I think we're so excited about that. We want to show that as much as we can.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's the point of all of this, is just connecting with people, like I said before.
Yeah.
Well, there was a real like shortage of like bands coming here for a little while, and now it feels like it's like flowing again, and there's like internationals are coming through, and 2 weeks ago we had all these Knotfest sideshows and New Bloom and other tours, and it was hard to know which show to go to. It was, and it's like great problem to have, like, but there was a time where it's like, fuck, love for there to be something on.
Oh
Like,
man, I mean, like again, I was talking about it that weekend. How like I used to catch the Murray's bus to Sydney and stay at the YHA in Central Station to see Cannibal Corpse, and it was like, and then now it's like that at that weekend it was like the guy from Hatebreed's in the Bendigo watching Harm's Way right now.
So
like,
sick.
you know, it's like the time is very different to,
Yeah,
for sure.
and it fucking rocks. Like, it's so good that that's the result.
Yeah.
and I think the video side of it, like, hopefully shows younger kids that like you can just keep it going, and hopefully there isn't that kind of like dip or whatever.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
I think this thing is like, it's a great time, and it doesn't take much to keep it going either.
Yeah.
I just remember I always reflect on how like influenced I was and the people I looked up to as a kid, especially when I became a teacher, became so conscious of like what did I think was cool and what left an impression on me and blah, blah, blah. And slowly realizing like there are people that for some amazing reason look up to what some of us have to say now and kind of hold that with a certain regard. And it's like, I'm trying to use this opportunity the best way we can, that if like there's a light that's shone on speed right now, and if we can kind of like shine that on things that we think is really cool and the other awesome things that may just like slip through the cracks, like that's such a sick way of using this vehicle, because Australian hardcore wasn't recognized, like everyone knows this, for such a long time, and for some reason we just got in there and just kind of like having a bit of a moment. So if we can make it multiple moments further, that's like,
well, I mean,
awesome.
I think one of the coolest things, like it was like maybe the start of last year now, when Extortion played that show in Sydney and you were there, and Josh from Secret World and Trophy Eyes and stuff was there, and the three of us were talking, and we were all about to go to America independently of one another to do tours that were like kind of crossing over one another. And I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like the fact that we've all known each other for quite a long time, and that we were all independently of one another going to do things that are very different from one another as well, but all rooted in the same thing, basically.
Man.
You know,
Fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Well, we've been talking for fucking ages, and you guys got to go to Ballarat, so
You got to get to that Macca's.
got to get to that, Maggers. But thanks heaps for coming and chatting with us.
Thank you guys for having us. Seriously,
Thanks for coming through.
I'm stoked that we were able to do it.
Yeah,
Thanks for waiting for us as well. I'm glad it finally happened.
Yeah.
my pleasure.
The amount of times I've messaged Aaron and been like, I'm sorry, bro. I don't know the master tour, blah, 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 blah. I don't think this day will work, blah, 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 blah. And then we have to reschedule it next Wednesday. And thank you.
One thing we always look forward to is a chance to talk shit though with you guys.
Also, because we grew up coming to Melbourne and always staying at your house with Galvin.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what we've just done now for the last 2 hours. It's exactly what we do after the show in your living room.
Yeah.
Just post up there and just talk and talk and talk and hear all of Aaron's amazing stories from you. I Exist trip to Europe. Where, and all the other shows that you've played, like literally just the podcast is just a real life shit talk with your homies, and it's
Truly.
But story time with Aaron is the thing that was part of the Melbourne experience for us. Man. So it's been awesome to do this with like some high tech gear.
Yeah, $6,000 camera hang. That's really what this is. If only I had this in my living room fucking 10 years ago. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Thanks very
guys.
much, guys.
Appreciate it.
Bye.